Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Devaki Nandanaya cha. Nanda Gopa Kumaraya. Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Hare Krishna, this evening we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. Verse number 15. Sarvasya cāhaṁ hṛdi sanniviṣṭo. Sarvasya cāhaṁ hṛdi sanniviṣṭo. mattaḥ smṛtir jñānam apohanam ca. mattaḥ smṛtir jñānam apohanam ca. vedaiś sarvair aham vedyo. vedaiś sarvair aham vedyo. vedānta-kṛd veda-vid cāham. vedānta-kṛd veda-vid cāham. Sarvasya, of all living beings. Cha, and. Aham, I. Hṛdi, in the heart. Sanniviṣṭaḥ, situated. Mattaḥ, from me. smṛtiḥ, remembrance. jñānam, knowledge. apohanam, forgetfulness. Cha, and. vedaiś, by the Vedas. Cha, also. sarvair, all. aham, I am. eva, certainly. vedaiś, knowable. vedānta-kṛt, the compiler of the Vedanta. The compiler of Vedanta. veda-vid, the knower of the Vedas. eva, certainly. Cha, and. aham, I. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Purport. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from Him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is supplied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all-pervading, He is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitive results. He is worshipable not only as the impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of the Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna in his incarnation as Vasudev is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vasudev in the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is the supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of his activities, and the giver of knowledge in the form of Vedas, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita, he is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good, God is all merciful. Antapravishta shasta jñānam. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does a living entity enjoy or suffer in this world according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord situated locally in the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand the Vedas from him. If one is serious about understanding the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literature confirms this. Yo asau sarvair veder giyate. In all Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, Vedanta Sutra, and the Upanishads and Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated. By performance of Vedic rituals, discussions of the Vedic philosophy, and worship of the Lord in devotional service, he is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas give us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.4 confirms this in the following words. Tattau samyavat. One can attain perfection in 3 stages by understanding Vedic literature. One can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by performing different processes. One can approach him, and at the end one can attain the supreme goal, who is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of the Vedas are clearly delineated. Defined. Om Ajnanaतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So Hare Krishna, this is a very important verse in Bhagavad Gita, and this in this verse Krishna gives, in first half he explains that how he is facilitating all the material desires of all the living entities in the material world, the first half of the shloka. And this, in the second part, Krishna explains that his own desire, the Lord's desire, he wants to liberate all the living entities from material entanglement. And he explains how the Vedas, we can understand Vedas in 3 aspects. So does anyone knows what are the three aspects? Prabhupada ends this his purport. There are three aspects of knowing Veda. So anyone knows what are the three aspects of knowing the Vedas? So almost all the Vedic literatures, they explain these three aspects. So just one hint, we have three deities in our sampradaya. Still? Yes, great. So there are three aspects: sambandha, abhideya, prayojan. Sambandha means our initial relation, like when in as per our Indian Vedic tradition, when a boy and girl, they get married, husband and wife, the relation, they become one in understanding, not in one body. They don't become one. So that is called sambandha. Abhideya means the husband does his job, whatever it is. The wife will do all household work. So that is called abhideya. Sambandha, abhideya. Prayojan. So anyone knows what is the prayojan? What is the purpose of married life, family life? What is the purpose? Great. So Prabhuji gave the right answer. Sansara. So basically we get married to have some children. So as per our Vedic understanding, sambandha, abhideya, prayojan. Prayojan means to go back home, back to Godhead. So our first deities in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, sambandha means Madan Mohan. So Madan Mohan is the deities. Madan Mohan, he will take out all our anarthas. Lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy. Then Govindji is the deities of Abhideya. All the festivals in Vrindavan, they are named after Radha Govind, Jhilan Yatra. All these festivals, they are named after Govindji. And Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. Prayojan is to attain the supreme destination. So that is to go back home, back to Godhead. So Gopinath is our Prayojan Devata. So we have three acharyas, Sanatana Goswami, Rup Goswami, and who is the Prayojan Acharya? Anyone knows? Who is the Prayojan Acharya in our Sampradaya? Raghunath Das Goswami. Our Prayojan Acharya is Raghunath Das Goswami. That we should know. These are the basic things. Okay. So now, first half of this verse, so basically what we see, here Krishna what is explaining, sarvasya cāhaṁ hṛdi sanniviṣṭo mattaḥ smṛtir jñānam apohanam ca. So Krishna, we should always know that he is seated within our heart. Even somebody is very near to us, but no can get into our heart. So Krishna is always seated in our heart, and Krishna here he explains mattaḥ smṛtir jñānam apohanam ca. So from Krishna only we get remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. So now if we see today, there are so many mobile companies and they have so many millions of subscribers, and these mobile companies, they can control your mobile, isn't it? So you have so many plans. Mobile also, so many plans are there, from 99 rupees to whatever. So this mobile company in material world, we can like a supercomputer. Now Paramatma is like a supercomputer. If you know, there are big companies, they preserve all your data. Nowadays, we see in the material world, there are certain companies. Now if you have a Gmail account last 20 years, so they have everything last 20 years, whatever you have posted, videos, pictures, whatever mail you have done, everything is there. And they can preserve everything what you did last 20, even they can record everything. So why not the Paramatma can do? So from the Lord, the first thing we should know, smṛtiḥ, the morning we get up, when we get up in the morning, oftentimes I travel, I am not at one place, I travel 15 days. So 15 days I am in a different place. So when I get up in the morning, sometimes I have to recall where am I exactly. Sometimes I can't make out where exactly am I. So okay. So the Lord, he gives remembrance to all the living entities. So when the morning comes, the twilight comes, all the birds, they start chirping. And they are just asking each others now how to go with the day, where we are going to go. And oftentimes I seen like the birds, they could go east, west, south, north. So Paramatma is guiding them. Mattaḥ, smṛtiḥ, knowledge, remembrance. Like many birds, they go daytime to some forest. Again the evening they come back. Like Prabhupada, one time he was on a morning walk, and there was bird shit, and he stood below that tree, and he asked the devotees, do you know what this means? This is a bird shit. And what Prabhupada told, even the birds, they are attached to their living place on the tree top. So the Lord is giving them knowledge, like there are animals, the villagers, they have animals, domestic animals. In the morning they go in the jungle, and the evening they come back. You will find they come back. And forgetfulness, this is very important. So now why the Lord makes us forgetful? So can anyone imagine? It's very, very important. Prabhupada has given a good number of these things in different quotes. He has written about the forgetfulness. So why the Lord gives us forgetfulness? So we are not like the time is divided into 3 factors: past, present and future. Now whatever is past, our past lives, we forget. Once we leave that body, very few cases are there where we know that some they can recall their past life. You will find there are so many case studies and all. Later on they gradually tend to forget whatever it is. So if we happen to remember all our past, then what will happen? We'll be having so many grievances. Understand? So we'll be having so many grievances about our past life. In one life I was this, in one life I was like that. So just to take out our grievances, the Lord will make us forget. That's what Prabhupada writes. So Prabhupada writes, Paramatma is the initiator of all activities. So now the moment the light comes, what happens? And the supply comes, all the light, they light up, the fan starts. If there's a cooler, many other gadgets are there, so they start working. So similarly, Paramatma, Prabhupada writes, Paramatma is the initiator of all activities. Supreme Lord is the witness of all past acts. Living entities acts according to past deeds. Living entities forgets and has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord's direction. He gives remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness, and also awards different fruitive results. So now, material world, what we see, all the living entities, they are unique, very unique. Even if they are twins, their thinking will be different. Even they look alike. So even you will not see 2 leaves in a tree, or even 2 fruits, they are not alike. Those who are living entities, what you will see in the material world. So you will find so much differences of opinion in thinking and other things. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains this is because of our the past. What Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, in this chapter, the verse 7th number was Mamaya Omcho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So although we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord from the spiritual abode, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one song he writes, Bhuliya tumare sansare asiya piye nana vida veta. That means forgetting the Supreme Lord, the living entity comes to this material world and he is suffering for his all different activities. Narottam Das Thakur has written one song, so apana karama doshe apani dubenu. What he explains, that every individual soul, that he is being punished for his individual karma. So everyone has his own individual karma, and karma will take us wherever we go, wherever we hide. So yes bro, we can come, there is a chair in the back. So karma will always follow us in the material world. whatever karma we do, karma, akarma, vikarma, these are the three main categories of karma. So the karma will always follow from behind like a shadow. So the living entities, although they are part and parcel of the Lord, so in the 13th chapter Krishna explains how we are transmigrating. Krishna explains, Purusha prakritasto hi bhungte prakritin jangunam karanam gunasangasya sad asad yonisu janmasu. The living entity in material nature, thus following the ways of life, enjoys the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with the material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species of life. So now these 84 lakh species, they are created. Like in today's world, these IIT people, they are innovative. These people, because they are taught technology, so if you ask them to do a certain type of thing, they can make for you. So similarly, according to our different varieties of desires, like if you go to a restaurant, if you go to Govinda's, so we don't have all the different cousins from different part of the world. You will not get here Italian, maybe al carta they call, whatever it is, or a full thali, or some Indian items, South Indian, idli, dosa, something like that. But when you go to a restaurant, so the waiter will come and he'll give you the card. So you look at the card and you will place the order, what you want. So now once the order is given, so after like 10-15 minutes, your order will come. So similarly, while we are living in the material world, karanam gunasangasya sad asad yonisu janmasu. So while living in this material nature, so we are bombarded by these three modes of nature, from morning, afternoon, evening. So the modes, they are working on us. So what is happening now, what company we keep? There is a saying, you are known by the company you keep. Also there is a saying by Shakespeare, if you want to know who you are, tell me who your friends are. This is said by Shakespeare. So material world, what we see, so whatever association we take, like Duryodhana, one of his good name is, anyone knows what is Duryodhana's another good name? Suyodhan. Because of associating with Shakuni, Karna, many other bad elements, so he became Duryodhan. So similarly, Kamsa was also not a bad man, because what Prabhupada writes, all his ministers, they were bad. So he was following their command or their ideas. So this way, material world, the living entity, because of associating with the material nature, so the nature will give him according to his thought. Krishna explains, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejante ante kalevaram tam tam eviti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavit. So at the time of death, whatever one remembers and what is happening throughout our life, we are developing certain kind of body in the sense consciousness. So that consciousness will prevail within our mind at the time of living our body. So we have the example of Bharat Maharaj, because at the time of death he was looking at the face of the baby deer. The baby deer was looking at him, and because it was an animal, and Bharat Maharaj, he was so much attached to that baby deer. So just at that moment he left the body, and next life he had to take the birth of a baby deer. So but still Krishna gave him the remembrance. Yes, past life you were a king, but because of your some mistake, you went off track. Off track means he's deviated from devotion service, and that was the cause of his falling down. But still, whatever devotion service we do, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 2.41, Neha abhi karmana nashosti pratyavayana vidyate salpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So in this endeavor there is no dimension, even a small percentage of devotion service what we do, it will save us from the biggest danger. What is the biggest danger in life? Death, and going to the lower species of life. What Prabhupada explains, So that is the worst part of our this thing, degrading to lower species of life. So now here certain quotes I will speak what Prabhupada writes about this 15.15. Prabhupada explains the brain can act while we are awake or even while we are dreaming. But when we are fast asleep or unconscious, the brain is inactive. Since the brain is lump of matter, it does not have independent power with which to act. It can act only when favored by the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now you see many people, they go into coma. In India there is one case, there was a nurse. This nurse was in coma for 37 years in Bombay. 37 years, not a small time. So whatever it is. So here in another quote what Prabhupada writes, that one must act according to the direction of the Lord within the heart. But because the conditioned soul wants to act independently, the Lord gives him the facility to act and experience the reactions. Like Prabhupada gives the example, like children, they want to play according to their own whims. Sometimes the children, they will say, I want to cook. So the what mother she will do, she will get that small playthings. Sometimes the son will say, I want to drive. The father will get him a toy car, whatever it is. So what we see, because Prabhupada writes, the Lord doesn't want to deny us the independence. There is a saying, independence is my liberty. The US, they have made a statue of liberty, okay, whatever it is. But how much we are using that liberty in the right manner. So material world, if one is not using the liberty in the right way, so then he will get entangled. What Prabhupada explains, that the living entities are completely absorbed in three states of wakefulness, dreaming and deep sleep through their intelligence. This intelligence is supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who accompanies the individual soul as a friend. So also Shvetashvatar Upanishad, there is one nice verse. So in that verse what is mentioned, that the Supreme Lord and the living entities, they are like two friends and they are sitting on the same branch of a tree, and one bird is enjoying the fruit. So these fruits, they are bitter, some they are tasty, some they are bitter. So this way, but the other bird is witnessing. And nowadays we see in many establishments they are putting so many CCTVs, cameras, but the Lord has put 13 CCTVs for the living entity. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yamraj explains to Yamdutas, there are 13 witnesses for all our activities what we do. So there are 13 witnesses. So we can't say yes. There are so many angles. Nowadays, whatever the sports are being played, so they are shown from the different angles. So the Lord also has these 13 different cameras by which all it can be replayed. It is mentioned that when the living entity is taken to Yamraj, so Yamraj has his secretary. His name is Chitragupta. So Chitragupta will take out the file and he will put on everything which you can't deny. Because Yamraj, he has a CCTV, and if you say I didn't, then he will put on that act immediately. So this way, then Yamraj will decide what should be the next course of action for the living entity. So but those who are doing devotional service, for them there is no need to get fearful, because those who are doing devotional service, for them the Vishnu Dutas, they come. So in one quote what Prabhupada writes, the Supreme Lord doesn't want any living entity to act sinfully. Like you see, usually parents, they are always keeping an eye on small children that they don't deviate, and he begs him through his good consciousness to refrain from sin. But when someone insists upon acting sinfully, the Supreme Lord gives him the sanction to act at his own risk. Sometimes the parent, they say, okay, you want to do, okay, you do at your own risk. So here what Prabhupada writes, so the Lord sanctions at the risk of that living entity. No one can do anything without the sanction of the Lord, but he is so kind that when the conditioned soul persists in doing something, the Lord permits the individual soul to act at his own risk. The Lord is full of, the Lord is full, he is supplier of, so this other part of this purport. So here the basic understanding should be that, yes, everything is coming from the Lord. Also in the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, there are certain aspects, what Krishna writes, what we are getting from Krishna. So here Krishna basically is telling three things. From him we are getting knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. Now when you go to sleep, your heart is beating on its own, isn't it? If the Lord tells tomorrow onwards you have to breathe on your own, if you forget breathing, then you will be gone. So what will happen then? So night you have to go to sleep, isn't it? Anyway. So morning we don't know whether we will wake up, whether we get up or not. It will not depend on the Lord, it will depend on us. So we should be grateful to the Lord, although we are sleeping, but still he is awake because he is running our heart. So material world, what we see, I gave an example of a mobile company. So they can control different areas, different people, and they can put you off the account either from Twitter or anything, and you are seeing that practically it is happening. So why not the Supreme Lord can do this? Also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that in 1861, this is a nice verse, Ishvara sarva bhutanam vriddeshu arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani mayaya. So what Lord explains that he is seated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as a machine made of material energy. So our body is made of 5 elements, Pancha Mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Even a car is made of 5 these elements, because in the car there is no consciousness. Only when there is a driver the car can act. But in our body the soul is the super conscious. It is completely conscious of the complete body. But beside the soul, the Supreme Lord is there. And also in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, Krishna explains, Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapi Ukto Dehe Asmin Purusha Para. What Krishna explains, yet in this body there is another transcendental enjoyer. In our body, actually the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer. Who is the Lord? The Supreme Proprietor. Then who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. So this verse is like similar, but we should know that in any part of our life, so the Supreme Lord, he is always keeping a watch. One of our acharyas, Sridhar Swami, there is one pastime in his life. So he was desperate to take sannyas, and that time his wife was pregnant. She was about to deliver. So what she said, you wait till the time I give delivery, then you leave the home. Said okay. So what happened, one day he was sitting in his room. So what happened, a lizard egg fell down from the wall, and he was looking at that egg. After some time, a small tiny baby lizard came out, and he was looking what is happening. So gradually it started crawling. So after some time, a small tiny minute insect came. It opened the mouth, so it got the first whatever it is, first food of its life. So what he got the realization is, now my wife will give birth to a child, but the Lord is the provider. There is no need for me to stay back. Even if I carry on with my next part of my life, so my wife and the newborn child will be taken care. So it is mentioned that further a king took care of his wife. So we should understand that even in Bhagavatam 11th canto, Uddhava, he has mentioned one nice verse similar to this verse. What he explains, Tattvato jñānam hi jivanam Pramoshaste shaktitihi tvam eva hi atmamaya gatim veta na chaparaha. So Uddhava explains, from you alone knowledge of all living entities arises, and by your potency that knowledge is stolen away. Indeed, no one but yourself can understand the real nature of your illusory potency. Because the Lord knows, because He is the creator of everything. So He only can tell exactly how things are happening. Also in the Brahma Samhita, also Brahma explains that ekope asav rachayitam jagadanda kotin yachakshirasti jagadandanatha. So what Brahma explains, that the Supreme Lord, He is existing in all the universes, and He is present in His fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe. This is what Brahma explains. So material world, what we see, as I told, that basically the knowledge, everything comes from the Supreme Lord. Also one of our acharyas, he writes that the 18 days Mahabharata war, Krishna was controlling the intelligence of all those who are on the battlefield on the both sides. And Krishna knew from day one until the last day who's going to do what. So there is one event, there are so many events. Like one day Arjuna, he was telling Bhishma Dev, so you have so much love for these Pandavas, you could have killed them long back, but you don't want to kill them. So that day Bhishma Dev, he became very much annoyed. He said, okay, I have now these 5 celestial arrows, so tomorrow I will kill all these 5 Pandavas. The moment he took that oath, so that message came to Krishna, because he is seated in his heart, Bhishma Dev's heart. So Krishna, he told Arjuna, get up. So now it's emergency, now immediately go to Arjuna. So he is having that 5 arrows from Bhishma Dev, and tomorrow Bhishma Dev will be killing you all 5 Pandavas. So one time you saved Duryodhana from the Gandharvas, and he told, ask for some boon. So you tell, give me these 5 arrows. So in the middle of the night, Arjuna, he went to Duryodhana. So Duryodhana was very happy. So he said, yes, tell me, what can I do for you? So Arjuna, he said, okay, one time you promised me something. Yes, that time has come. So why don't you give me that 5 arrows? So there are so many pastimes in the Mahabharata war. So here what we see, the Krishna is guiding the intelligence, those who were there in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So literally Krishna was controlling their knowledge, intelligence and forgetfulness. And there is one nice pastime, one lady who sponsored our Radha Shyam Sundari deities. I don't know exactly. She was from one Jaipur, this thing, royal family. So she was living in Calcutta just few years back. So she was about to die in the hospital. And she told her servant that why don't you get one picture of Radha Krishna. So that servant, he knew our ISKCON temple, because he used to visit our ISKCON temple there. So there the deities are there, Radha Govindji. They are also installed by Srila Prabhupada. So what happened? So that servant, he came to the temple and he was asking, can somebody give me a frame of Radha Krishna? So they were looking desperately, but they didn't get any frame. But one devotee had Radha Shyam Sundar frame in his room. So the devotees, the temple president told, why don't you give for some time that you will get back that picture. So that servant, he took that same picture to that lady. And seeing that picture, she left her body. So nothing happens by mistake. So I had one friend, surgeon in Bombay hospital. So he was telling one story. One time one woman, Parsi woman, she came all the way from Hong Kong to Bombay. She was suffering from cancer. So the surgeons, they tried their level best and they found that they can't cure her, and she was about to leave her body in 1 or 2 days. So what this doctor thought, okay, anyways she is going to leave her body, let me tell her to chant. What he did, he went near to her and he told her, Bhagwan ka naam lo, Hare Krishna bolo. But this lady said, cha, cha. Cha means what is that? What is that in Sindhi language? So she couldn't make out what he thought. Maybe her ear must have gone off. So he closed the windows and he shouted, Bhagwan ka naam lo, Hare Krishna bolo. Still she was saying cha, cha, cha. So the doctor, he said, okay, this is a hopeless case. After some time he called the doctor, doctor idhar aao. Paper, pen, get paper and pen. This is my daughter's number in Hong Kong. Tell her I am about to die. Tell her to come as soon as possible. So the doctor, then he got the realization, yes, because throughout the life she never did any devotional service. So at this point, nothing is going to help her. So now we'll come to the second part. So here Krishna Prabhupada writes, Vedas provide perfection in 3 stages. Establishing the relationship as the, what is the, this thing, purpose of Vedas is to establish the relation of the living entity with the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada writes here in the purport that basically he explains that one can attain perfection in 3 stages. By understanding Vedic literatures, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Person of Godhead by performing different processes, that is a sadhana bhakti. One can approach him, and at the end one can attain the supreme goal, who is no other than the Supreme Person of Godhead. In this verse, the purpose of the Vedas and the understanding of the Vedas and the goal of the Vedas are clearly defined. This is what Prabhupada explains. So this is another part of the lecture. So we should know that Vedas, basically it is mentioned that in the second part of Krishna explains vedānta-kṛt vedaiḥ cāham. What he explains, that he can be known only through the Vedas, and Veda as the means to know him. And Srimad Bhagavatam also, there is a nice verse which explains Ata pumbir dveja shrestha varnashrama vyavasha swanasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Haritoshanam is to please the Supreme Lord. So it is mentioned that, O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions in order of life is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if we know the Vedas, if we understand these 3 parts of the Vedas, there are 555 verses in the Vedanta Sutra. So they are given in a concise form. So now we'll go for, we have just 5 minutes left. So Sridhar Swami explains that the Supreme Lord Krishna confirms that he is situated simultaneously within the etheric heart of all the living entities. Then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he explains that Krishna, from him he explains that intelligence, remembrance and sense of object previously pursued. So what he explains, having told how he helps the jiva in his bound state, the Lord then tells he assists the jiva in attaining liberation. So here the second part, as I told before, the second part Krishna, he is very much desperate to take us back home. So he is explaining how we can go back home, back to Godhead. Then Baldev Vidyabhushan, the first one was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Baldev Vidyabhushan explains that I alone have entered, that's the Lord explains, in everyone's heart, even in the moon and in the fire of digestion. So here the energies of the Lord, they are explained in the 10th chapter also, Vibhuti Yoga. So here this even Prabhupada writes different vibhutis of Krishna. So here now Krishna has explained how from him everything comes and everything is dependent on him. So basically today we can conclude this today's verse. So Krishna explains in 2 parts. In the first part, he is facilitating all the living entities in fulfilling their desires. Like if you go on a holiday, so as per your package, the holiday company will give you whatever sense gratification you want. So the second part of the verse, Krishna explains that yes, the Supreme Lord, He desires to liberate all the living entities from the material entanglement. Like the hospital is made so that we can be cured from the disease. It is not that hospitals are made that we can be there all the life long. It is not like that. So Prabhupada explains material world is like a Durga. It's not so easy to come out. So here Krishna has given us the best of the material world and the spiritual world. How the living entity is dependent on Krishna, and he explains how if we take Krishna's shelter and understand the Vedas in three aspects, we can go back home, back to Godhead. So thank you very much. So anyone has any comment, question about today's verse? So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.